How dare you show your face here, Ngozi? Madame Ezen's voice cracked like thunder across the church hall. Her finger stabbed the air, pointing directly at the woman standing frozen near the door. This wickedness must end tonight. The evening women's fellowship went silent. 30 women turned to stare. Ngozi stood there, her wrapper clutched tight in trembling hands, unable to speak. Because it was already dark outside. And everyone in that hall knew Ngozi never, ever spoke after the sun went down. Madame Ezen raised her phone high. I have proof. Look at this video. A woman in a headscarf near the Shrine Road at midnight, the same night young Kayamika went missing. The blurry footage played. A shadowy figure. A scarf. The Shrine Road. That is you, Ngozi. Madame Ezen shouted. You and your night silence. What are you hiding? What evil thing are you protecting? The hall erupted. Women gasped. Some covered their mouths. Others backed away from Ngozi like she carried a plague. Then Kayamika's mother collapsed, screaming one word over and over, Ngozi. 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 But how did we get here? How did the most trusted woman in the village become the one everyone now feared? 3 months earlier, Ngozi was different. She was the woman everyone loved. The trader who helped widows without asking for thanks. The peacemaker who settled quarrels with soft words and patient listening. The kind of woman you could leave your child with and sleep soundly. Her voice during the day was warm like palm wine. Calm like morning rain. She prayed for people at dawn. She laughed at the market. She greeted elders properly with both knees bent. Ngozi is a blessing, the women would say. Her husband is lucky. But when the sun dropped below the horizon, something changed. Ngozi became silent. Watchful. She moved through her compound like she was listening to sounds no one else could hear. Her eyes would shift toward shadows. Her shoulders would tense. Her husband, Chaik, joked about it in public. My wife becomes a mute at night, he would laugh. Very convenient for a man who needs peace. People laughed with him. But in private, Chaik used her silence differently. He knew a wife who couldn't answer back was easy to control. One evening, their son asked, Mama, why don't you ever answer me at night? Ngozi flinched like he had touched a deep bruise. Inside Ngozi's heart lived a wound that never healed. She felt invisible in her own home. A shadow woman. A furniture piece that cleaned and cooked but was never truly seen. But her silence wasn't just about feeling small. It was grief. It was guilt. It was fear wrapped so tight around her chest she could barely breathe. Because her younger sister had died the night Ngozi broke her rule. The night she spoke after dark. The night something answered back. Under her bed, hidden in a clay pot wrapped in old cloth, Ngozi kept a bundle. Every few days, she would take it out and look at it. Touch it. Like a wound she couldn't stop pressing to see if it still hurt. It always did. Chaik grew colder with each passing month. He mocked her village drama in front of friends. But he also enjoyed the respect people gave him for having such a holy, quiet wife. One night, as Ngozi prepared for bed, she heard it. A whisper outside her window. Her own name, spoken softly in the darkness. Ngozi. She froze. Her blood went cold. She looked outside. No one was there. Adiz arrived like a storm. Bold. Loud. Wearing jeans and a bright blouse that made the village women stare. She was Ngozi's childhood friend, back from Lagos for a visit. When Adiz saw Ngozi, her smile faded. What happened to you? She asked quietly. You used to walk like you owned the ground beneath your feet. Now you move like you're apologizing for breathing. Ngozi tried to laugh it off. I'm fine. Just older now. But Adiz wasn't fooled. She noticed how Ngozi's eyes never stayed on one place too long. How she startled at sudden sounds. How she wore oversized wrappers that swallowed her body. Then Adiz saw the bruises on Ngozi's arm. Faint. Old. But unmistakable. Ngozi, Adiz said, her voice sharp with concern. This is not aging. This is dying while still alive. She pushed Ngozi gently. When did you stop laughing? When did you stop mattering to yourself? Ngozi's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. That afternoon, Adiz quietly followed Chaik when he left the house. She watched him meet a stranger in a tinted SUV. They talked. Money exchanged hands. Adiz's stomach tightened. Something was very wrong. Slowly, carefully, Ngozi began to change. Adiz helped her buy new wrappers, ones that fit properly. She convinced Ngozi to braid her hair neatly instead of hiding it under old scarves. At the market, women noticed. Sister Ngozi, you are glowing, they said. But Chaik hated it. The attention. The compliments. The way Ngozi was starting to stand straighter. Why are you dressing like this? He snapped one evening. Who are you trying to impress? Ngozi said nothing. It was already dark. Adiz opened a small savings account for Ngozi without Chaik knowing. Financial independence is safety, she whispered. Never forget that. That same week, Ngozi noticed a new security man near the community hall. He watched her too closely. Too long. His eyes followed her everywhere. One afternoon, Ngozi reached into her market basket and found a folded piece of paper she hadn't put there. Her hands shook as she opened it. The message was written in rough handwriting. We know what you did the night your sister died. Ngozi's breath stopped. The market sounds faded. All she could hear was her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Ngozi began living two lives. By day, she rebuilt herself piece by piece. Confidence growing. Voice returning. By night, she became hyper-alert. Avoiding speech. Avoiding shadows. Avoiding anyone who might try to make her talk after dark. Adiz insisted Ngozi start documenting everything. Secrets only break when you have proof, she said. Write down Chaik's movements. Times. Places. Faces. Ngozi began keeping notes hidden in her Bible. Meanwhile, Madame Ezin, a sharp-eyed elder woman with a reputation for holy discernment, began watching Ngozi closely. She asked too many questions. Why are you suddenly looking so fresh, Sister Ngozi? What changed? The market gossip turned sharper. She's glowing like someone who made a deal. Night people always shine during the day. Ngozi tried to ignore the whispers. But one evening, she returned home and checked under her bed. The clay pot was still there. But the cloth wrapping her hidden bundle had been untied. Someone had opened it. Someone had seen what was inside. Her hands trembled as she rewrapped it quickly. Who had been in her room? Who knew? One night, the power went out across the neighborhood. Darkness swallowed everything. Ngozi sat inside her house, frozen, as the blackness pressed against the windows. Then she heard it. The compound gate creaking open. Her heart stopped. A child's voice called from outside. Soft. Familiar. Exactly like her late sister used to sound. Auntie Ngozi. Auntie Ngozi. Ngozi's throat tightened. Every muscle in her body screamed at her to answer. To run outside. To see if it was real. But she clamped her mouth shut. Her nails dug into her palms. She would not speak. She would not answer. She ran inside the bedroom and locked the door, her heart thundering so loud she thought it would burst. The next morning, her son said something strange. Mama, I heard you whisper my name last night. No, Ngozi said quickly. I didn't speak. But he insisted. I heard you. Near the window. That afternoon, Ngozi found footprints outside her window. Small. Leading from her house toward the shrine road. Later, Adiz pulled her aside, face pale. Ngozi, I saw Chaik yesterday evening. He was entering the shrine priest's compound. At dusk. The news spread like wildfire. Kayamika, a teenage girl from the church choir, had disappeared. Last seen near the market as the sun was setting. The town panicked. Mothers locked their daughters inside. Men formed search groups. Fear moved through the village like smoke. Madame Ezen began connecting dots out loud. You know who else was near the market that evening? Ngozi. And you know what's suspicious? Her night silence. And her sudden glow. That's blood money. That's wickedness. Women whispered. Men frowned. Suspicion grew. The police came asking questions. Chaik played the supportive husband perfectly. Officer, my wife is a good woman. But she has been acting strange lately. I'm worried about her. He pointed suspicion toward Ngozi without ever directly accusing her. Ngozi wanted to defend herself. She wanted to scream the truth. But every time evening approached, her fear grew. Because speaking after dark had consequences she refused to trigger again. One afternoon, while sweeping her compound, Ngozi's broom hit something hard buried in the dirt near the corner. She dug carefully. Her stomach dropped. It was Kayamika's bracelet. The one everyone said she was wearing the night she disappeared. Buried in Ngozi's compound. Ngozi tried to report the bracelet to the police. She went to the station, holding it carefully in a cloth. The officer barely looked up. Madam, these village stories are plenty. People bury things and then find them for drama. But this is evidence. Ngozi insisted. He waved her away. Come back with something real. Adiz was furious. We need to go higher. A senior officer. Someone from the city. But Chaik found out and forbade it. You will not embarrass me by running around like a mad woman, he said coldly. If you try, I will take our son and you will never see him again. Meanwhile, Madame Ezen gathered women, presenting herself as protector of morality. She planned a public confrontation. Ngozi realized someone was framing her carefully. Step by step. Using her silence as a cage. She made a decision. That night, she would break one rule. She would follow Chaik in the darkness without speaking. She had to know. She wrapped herself in dark cloth and followed him from a distance. He walked to the shrine road. The priest was waiting. Chaik handed him a small envelope. The priest smiled and counted money inside. It's working perfectly, the priest said. The town already believes she's guilty. At the next women's meeting, Madame Ezen stood like a prosecutor. She had photos printed on paper. Testimonies written down. A woman in a scarf near the shrine road. Shadowy meetings. A missing girl. Then she pointed at Ngozi. This woman, Madame Ezen declared, is hiding something. Her silence protects evil. The crowd turned fast. Fear loves a target. Fear needs someone to blame. Ngozi stood there, shaking. It was already evening. The sun was gone. She could not speak to defend herself. They had planned this on purpose. A respected male elder entered the hall. The missing girl's mother has demanded a cleansing, he announced. Someone must be tested spiritually to reveal the truth. Murmurs filled the room. Fear. Excitement. Judgment. Then the elder said something that made Ngozi's blood freeze. We have invited the shrine priest to come identify the guilty person. He will arrive shortly. Ngozi's knees weakened. The shrine priest. The same man she had seen taking money from Chaik. The trap was closing. And she was standing right in the center of it. Chaik arrived late, walking slowly into the church hall. He carried Ngozi's scarf in his hands, folded neatly. His face was calm. Concerned. The perfect image of a worried husband. I have been praying, he said softly to the crowd. My wife has been acting strangely for months. I didn't want to believe something was wrong. But now, with this missing girl. He paused, letting the silence work. I think Ngozi should submit to a spiritual test. For the sake of peace. For the sake of truth. People nodded. They trusted him. He was calm. Reasonable. A good man standing by his troubled wife. Adiz watched from the back, her fists clenched. She wanted to scream. She realized this wasn't a reaction. This was a performance. Chaik wasn't responding to Ngozi's ruin. He was directing it. Ngozi looked at her husband. Really looked at him. And for the first time, she understood. He had been planning this. All of it. The shrine priest stepped forward, smiling gently. The test is simple, he said. We will ask Sister Ngozi one question at midnight. If she is innocent, she will answer without fear. A clean spirit has nothing to hide. Midnight. The darkest hour. When Ngozi's rule was strongest. It was a death sentence disguised as justice. Behind closed doors, alone with Adiz, Ngozi finally spoke the truth she had buried for years. The night my sister died, she whispered, I spoke after dark. I called her name. And something answered back. Adiz listened, her skin prickling. It wasn't her voice, Ngozi continued. It sounded like her, but it wasn't. It called me outside. And when I went out, I saw my sister at the edge of the forest. But when I got close, she vanished. The next morning, we found her body near the shrine road. Tears streamed down Ngozi's face. I swore I would never speak after dark again. I thought if I stayed silent, I could protect my son from the same fate. Adiz was skeptical. Until she heard it. A soft voice outside the window. Calling her childhood nickname. The one only her dead mother used. Ada baby. Ada baby. Adiz's eyes went wide. Her mouth went dry. Ngozi pulled out her hidden bundle. Inside was an old phone and a torn cloth stained with brown blood. This was my sister's, Ngozi said. Evidence from that night. Suddenly, Ngozi's phone buzzed. An unknown number. The message read, speak at midnight and you'll lose your son too. By the next day, Ngozi's life had collapsed. The church leadership suspended her from all women's activities until the investigation ends. Market women stopped buying from her stall. Coins disappeared. Customers walked past without looking at her. Her son came home from school crying. They say my mother eats people at night. They say I'm cursed too. Chaik enjoyed it all. Women brought him food, praying over him. Poor man, married to such a woman. He accepted their sympathy while starving Ngozi of every kindness. Adiz began digging through old records. She discovered something strange. The night Ngozi's sister died overlapped perfectly with a major land dispute. Powerful families were involved. And the shrine priest had been at the center of it. Ngozi, Adiz said slowly, what if your silence isn't just about fear? What if it's the only thing keeping a bigger truth from coming out? That evening, someone knocked softly on Ngozi's door. It was Kayamika's mother. Her face was pale. Her hands shook. She leaned close and whispered, my daughter is alive. I saw her 2 days ago. But someone told me if I tell anyone, they will kill her for real. Then she ran away into the darkness, leaving Ngozi frozen in shock. Adiz bribed a local Okada rider with money she could barely afford. He finally talked. I dropped that missing girl near Chief Nwosu's mansion, he said quietly. The big house with the high fence. She went inside willingly. Chief Nwosu. The wealthiest man in town. The one funding the new church building. The one everyone feared and respected. Ngozi's mind raced. She remembered Chief Nwosu visiting their home years ago. Always speaking softly to her younger sister. Always bringing small gifts. Always staying too long. What if this isn't about spirits? Adiz said. What if this is about trafficking? About blackmail? About powerful men hiding crimes behind fear? Ngozi wanted to go to the police. But when she tried, the officer pulled her aside. Madam, listen carefully, he said, his voice low. Chief Nwosu is untouchable. If you accuse him, you will disappear. Do you understand? You will disappear. That night, Adiz was followed on her way home. A car slowed beside her. A man reached out. She ran, screaming, until neighbors came outside. She barely escaped. The message was clear. Stop digging. Or pay the price. The announcement came through the church loudspeaker. The shrine priest's voice echoed across the village. Sister Ngozi will be tested at midnight tonight. She will answer one simple question. If she is innocent, her voice will be steady. If she is guilty, the spirits will reveal her. It was a perfect trap. Ngozi's lifelong rule was being weaponized against her. Chaik came home that evening, his face hard. If you refuse this test, I will claim you are mentally unstable. I will take our son. You will never see him again. The court will believe me, not you. Ngozi sat on the floor, staring at nothing. She had two choices. Both led to destruction. Adiz grabbed her shoulders. If you run, that missing girl's case dies. If you stay silent, you die. We have to fight smarter. They made a plan. Record everything. Livestream the audio. Send it to a trusted journalist in the city and a senior police contact Adiz knew. If we're going to walk into this trap, Adiz said, we're bringing the whole truth with us. But hours before midnight, Ngozi checked her son's room. His bed was empty. He was gone. Ngozi found a scrap of paper tucked under her cooking pot. The handwriting was rough, threatening. Your son is waiting at the shrine road. Call his name if you want to see him alive. Ngozi's world tilted. Her hands shook so hard she dropped the paper. Adiz tried to hold her back. This is bait, Ngozi. They want you to speak. They want you to break. But Ngozi couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. Her son. Her baby. She ran toward the shrine road, Adiz chasing behind her. In the darkness, she heard it. Her son's voice. Crying. Faint. Coming from the bush. Mummy. Mummy, help me. But then she heard another voice. The same words. The same cry. Overlapping. Repeating. Mummy. Mummy. It was a recording. A trick. Her lips trembled. Her throat burned with the need to call out to him. The entire night seemed to lean toward her mouth, waiting. Then a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. Her son. Tied near the shrine entrance. Alive but terrified. And standing behind him, holding a knife, was Chaik. Her own husband. Everything clicked into place. The truth crashed over Ngozi like cold water. This was never about spirits. It was never about curses. Chaik had been working with the shrine priest and Chief Nwosu all along. They used fear to control the town. The mimic voice was recordings played through hidden speakers. Planted evidence. Scripted timing. They had done this before. Ngozi's sister didn't die from spirits. She died because she accidentally recorded Chief Nwosu confessing to a crime. Land theft. Girls being trafficked. Money laundering. Ngozi's silence after dark wasn't superstition. It was trauma. She knew the truth. She knew powerful men could turn an entire community against you with one well-told story. And now they were doing it again. Chief Nwosu stepped out of the shadows, smiling. Calm. Confident. You have a choice, Ngozi, he said softly. Speak now, break your precious rule, and lose your son. Or stay silent and watch another girl disappear. Either way, you lose. We win. Chike pressed the knife closer to their son's neck. Choose, he said coldly. But Ngozi didn't speak. Instead, she smiled. Because Adiz had been recording everything. And the live stream was already running. Ngozi stayed silent. She refused to play their script. Instead, Adiz stepped forward, phone raised high, the recording light blinking red. Everything you just said, Adiz announced loudly, was live-streamed to a senior police officer and a journalist. Your confession. Your threats. All of it. Chike's face went white. Chief Nwosu lunged forward, but car headlights suddenly flooded the shrine road. Police vehicles. A senior officer from the city. Reporters with cameras. The midnight test crowd had arrived, expecting a spiritual spectacle. Instead, they witnessed the truth. Evidence poured out. Recordings of Chief Nwosu's confessions. Bank transfers showing bribes. Footage of the planted bracelet. The missing girl found hidden in a building behind the shrine, alive and terrified. Chike's image collapsed in minutes. The shrine priest was arrested. Chief Nwosu's empire crumbled as cameras recorded everything. Madame Ezen stood frozen, realizing she had been used as a weapon. As the sun began to rise, Ngozi finally spoke. In daylight. In front of everyone. She named the crime. She ended the fear. Her silence had been her prison. But her truth, spoken in the light, became her freedom. If you let darkness silence you, wicked people will write your story for you. Speak your truth before night turns your life into someone else's weapon. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.